Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's episode is about my full hip replacement surgery and my process to getting back into the water. This is going to be interesting. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. Now, since our last episode, I got a lot of requests for us to do an episode on my full hip replacement, my recovery, and what actually gave me the idea that I needed to have the surgery done. So there's folks in our community that are having some issues with their bodies, especially their hips. And I remember last summer surfing long sessions out at the point breaks, surfing for 3 hours, getting out super tired. And I remember my hips having a lot of pain. So when I was walking maybe down the driveway, just having full extension with my leg behind me on my right leg, there was a sharp pain there. And then last summer at Waco Surf, doing the twin fin pool party, I was trying to get into the lip real quick, and that's kind of the way I always surf that wave. But one of the rights I got off of, after I surfed the wave and they were switching from the rights to the lefts, I was talking with somebody and I was kind of sitting really low in the water. My board was off to the side, and I was just kind of stretching my hips, and I had a really sharp pain deep in the hip joint of my right hip. And I slowly popped to my feet and got a little bit taller. I was massaging it around. It hurt bad, but I was able to keep surfing and finish out the surf trip. But I was noticing that every time I got out from surfing, my hips hurt so much that it was hard for me to walk normal after a long session. Now, as I got closer to wanting to get an MRI done, I felt like my surfing was progressively getting worse. I don't know that you guys could tell, but for me, I just felt like I was becoming more of a front-footed surfer, so I wasn't able to sit back on my back leg. And one of the things that I was noticing is that I wasn't surfing as low. And one of the things that gave away that my weight was more forward than back is through turns at times. It didn't matter what board or what fins I was using, the tail would get free and loose and start to slide, and it was hard for me to control. And that's when I started to put two and two together, that any kind of internal rotation on the inside leg, my back leg, there would be a lot of pain on the inside of my hip. So I went to my primary care doctor. He sent me to a specialist. I went to see Dr. Abraham Kim, and he was saying that some of the problems I was having, he was moving my leg around, checking my hip, and I was having a lot of pain in the growing area. And it just came on me one day, and it never really went away. So he kind of gave me my options, obviously get an MRI, but the first thing we could do is get an injection, get some steroids shot in there, and that will take away the pain. And let's just say that the pain would leave for a duration of time. Now, some of this lasts longer on others, but for me, it lasted about 3 weeks. And I was able to finish the mashup review, get low, surf the way I wanted to surf. But then 3 weeks after it wore off, the pain came back a little bit worse. And now I have in the hip, when I walk, every single step, it was bone on bone, and I could feel the hip grinding. So I went back to Dr. Abraham Kim, told him that the injection didn't last very long, and I wanted to get the full hip replacement. And I got a short clip of Dr. Kim telling you what's inside my hip right now.
You can see the socket, the ball, the plastic liner, the stem that connects the ball to the thigh bone, and the stem goes right into the hollow of the thigh bone. And that's a hip replacement.
Now, after talking to Dr. Kim, I got an MRI, and the first place I took it to is Dr. Warren Kramer. Now, he works with most of the surf athletes on the WSL, and he's a trusted friend of mine, and he doesn't do hip replacements. So he did say I had a torn labrum, and I set up the appointment with Dr. Kim to get the surgery started. And I just want to let you guys know the first 24 to 48 hours were difficult. Right? I was up and walking around using a walker, and I was able to come home. It was an outpatient surgery. And after the 48 hours, it got a little bit easier, but the first couple weeks were tough. Now, about 6 to 8 weeks in, I was going to physical therapy, doing light stretches, movements, and working on my hip flexor, trying to get some strength back into my leg. I started swimming, and I wanted to just push my body to stretch out a little bit, get in the water, and start working on paddle strength. And that was going good. And then I started some light strength training with some weights, inner outer thighs. I did quads, hamstrings, and I was doing leg press. And this is really lightweight, just to get me ready to start transitioning to go stronger in physical therapy. And then going to physical therapy has been a great way to get me back in the water. And these are some of the things that I've been working on with Keith at the physical therapy office, is just getting my range of motion back, getting my strength, working on scar tissue, and really give me the flexibility back that I need to get in the water. Today is my first day back in the water. It's 12 weeks exactly from the date of my surgery. Now I remember talking to the surgeon, if I do the surgery, how long will I be out of the water for? He said absolutely 10 to 12 weeks is what the period is he wants me to wait. Now at 10 weeks, going to physical therapy, thinking, can I get back in the water? And I just didn't feel like my body could do it. So some of the things that I was experiencing, especially at physical therapy, is, can I pop to my feet? Am I gonna have the strength in my back leg to not only get to my feet, but able to be pulling it under my arms so I can stand up? So I've been super nervous to get out there. Now at therapy, we've been working on pop-up a little bit, and I can get to my feet from a prone position. The other thing we've been working on is getting my range of motion back. So in the internal rotation on the hip, coming in, this is my back leg, and external rotation. So from surgery, there was a couple things that the surgeon didn't want me to do pretty much for about 8 weeks. They didn't want me to cross my leg like this, and I still can't do that very good with my right leg. And they didn't want me to have any kind of extension with my leg getting severely behind me. Now I do feel a little bit of stretching in here, and the physical therapist said we're at that spot now where we need to get that range of motion back. And I rode my Carver surf skate at 10 weeks just to see how my body would feel, and I could feel like when I got down into this position, a little bit of internal rotation and actually trying to push off of my bottom turns, that there was a little bit of pain there. So talking to the physical therapist, and I have a couple other friends that are doctors, I was telling them about riding the surf skate, what my pains were. And because there's scar tissue in here, and the way they move the muscles over to do the surgery, because my scar's right here, to get in and do the hip replacement, that scar tissue, I've got to massage it out. We've got to get it to where we want it to be, so that way I can get the full range of motion to get back to life and doing my job, riding surfboards, testing, and having fun surfing. So stoked to go out, catch a couple waves. I think the mission was accomplished today. Get to my feet, see how it's feeling. And there was a few times I was bobbling the takeoff and getting to my feet. And just from paddling and arching the back, just feeling like my back's pretty tender and sore. You know, I didn't feel like my arms were too bad paddling out there, but my back and my hip were the two things that were kind of bugging me. But one of the things I want to mention is in the 3 months that I had off, I gained about 8 to 10 pounds. So I'm about 173. If you follow the show, I'm 165. Now this is a 5.5 Revo. It's coming in at 28.5 liters, which is roughly 3 liters more than I'm used to riding. And I'll say I felt like paddling for the waves and catching the waves, it felt good. When I got to my feet, it didn't feel like too much foam. It was a good, comfortable place for me to get back in the water and get started. One of the things I noticed when I was surfing, after I got to my feet and started to pump, did a couple like little turns, and just really feeling like when I'm pushing off and turning the knee in, there's like a pinch in the hip joint. And I would say similar to like a pinched nerve in the back. It's not taking my breath away, like a bad pinched nerve in the back if you've ever had one before, but like an annoying little pinch that reminds me that I'm injured. So I'm gonna have to ease my way back into this and give some good feedback to physical therapy so we can start working out the scar tissue and getting it nice and loose in here, and then just try and keep surfing and little by little get back to the performance surfing I want to do. Hey guys, I'm here at Cal Rehab in Laguna Niguel. I'm here with Keith Corbin. We've been working together on my hip replacement, getting back to health.
Yep.
We're what, 13 weeks post-surgery?
13 weeks past, yeah. And yeah, I mean, basically you're making some good progress, right? You just got on the board, what, a couple weeks ago now? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell me what's some of the restrictions now that you're dealing with, now that you've got on?
Right, so getting over that initial fear of getting to the pop-up and getting to my feet, I'm still a little bobbling around on the pop-up, but I'm getting there. And then really just pushing off on a bottom turn front side, and then wanting to push off on the top turn or cutback.
Right.
And the internal rotation is something naturally I do
when
I drive off the bottom turn, and this back leg kind of bends in.
Right.
So there's no pain here right now. And then when I do a carve and I'm coming around, it's now, I start with my weight pushing on the back foot, and then I'm shifting and I'm transferring weight.
Yeah.
And the more I transfer and the deeper this goes, there's a sharp pain in my hip. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, the pain level's probably like a 4.
Okay.
But it goes from 0 to 4 real quick, and it's like, whoa, that's scary.
Jolting and
okay,
got it.
Scary.
Okay. So yeah, with that said, I'm going to set you up with a good home exercise routine to kind of work that out, prep up to it. Right now, we're going to work on some scar tissue mobilization, get that that hip socket basically nice and mobilized. So I'm going to do some things that are going to help get a treatment session going. So let's get into it. So basically, what I'm doing here for Knowles, I'm distracting the bone away from that socket. Appropriately. I mean, not really dislocating at all. All it is just moving that bone and just helping to get a nice stretch. After we're done here, that capsule should be nice and lengthened a little bit. And then we can work into that deep squat so that you should feel a pretty good little stretch, right?
Yep.
Shouldn't be painful.
No.
This is gonna really help because this is just one of those things you can't do on your own. So maybe I'm gonna have it go from high to low.
Okay.
So now you can feel that kind of pulling out towards you.
Now
and then what you want to do is get into those positions that normally would bug you. And we want to work a little bit of, some mobility, right?
Yep.
And then as you're doing that, you can go ahead and push off. And now we got that high to low pull. Now here's your exercise, boom.
Yep, that feels better.
There it is. So now here you are, and you're looking back up at that wall coming at you.
Here's my lip here, I'm going to the bottom. I'm looking up,
boom,
and then I'm
pushing,
right?
Right. Yeah, it looks good, right? Very functional exercise. Perfect to get you, and then now I can see you even throwing your body into it.
Throw some weight into it.
Right, excellent, excellent.
Now I'm here in Laguna Niguel at Pacific Hills Chiropractic with a personal buddy of mine. I call him Jim, but it's Dr. Glenn Perryman. We surf together all the time. And he's a vital role right now in me getting back into the water. Now, he's been taking care of me for years, making sure my spine's aligned and my hips. But lately, just getting back in the water, I'm really struggling with popping to my feet, keeping my hips aligned, because I feel like I'm pushing up so hard on the left side to pull my right leg up under me.
Right.
And so maybe we can go into the kind of adjustments we're doing, and we can maybe look at my x-ray and you can tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll make a lot of sense when we see the x-ray. Cool. All right, so here's the x-ray that we took recently, and you've had a few before this, but this is the recent one with the hip surgery. What brought you in, seeing me, years ago was your hip. So why don't you let your viewers know what was going on, what brought you in the first place?
Yeah, I feel like it could have been soreness in the hips. It was hard to pinpoint it if it was the back of the hip. It could have been hips were always out of alignment.
Right.
And then we took some x-rays and you found something that was kind of abnormal, right?
Well, I'll say abnormal. It's just something that's unique to you and certain individuals. Is that on your x-ray, which will always be there, is on your L5 on the right side is your transverse process. So I'll point to it again here with the little arrow. Is that transverse process, it should be smaller, you know, and this one's a little bit bigger, and they call it spatulated. It's just like a spatula. It's a little bit bigger than it should be. So that limits your range of motion with your pelvis. It starts to articulate or touch that pelvis, and it limits your range of motion. So intuitively, you knew there was something wrong. Now we were able to pinpoint what it is. You know, now put on top of that now, with you're struggling with your hips for a while, and then it ended up being, you know, you needed hip surgery, unfortunately. And for a lot of you guys having hip surgery, you know, you panic that you can't go surf again. You know, you want to be able to get, jump up and get on your boards. So that's where the physical therapy comes in that you've been doing. I know you spoke to them recently, and that's great for the strengthening part of it, keeping you loose. And then on my end, keeping you loose is just keeping your joints moving as well as you can, and that's what we've been doing. So you came back to me just hey, we need to jump up, or step up our game, and I'm more than happy to do that because I want to be in the water too, just like you guys. And we're going to be seeing you more frequently to keep the pelvis moving. Sure. And with that new hip in there, your body's trying to figure out what's going on because there's a lot of muscle memory, and we need to help your body just adapt to what's going on and keep in the water. Bring Noel over to the flexion distraction table, and this table it moves at the pelvis, and it actually goes side to side. It's like a movie from side to side, which I will do with you, just due to your issue with your back. But I do this with about 80 to 90% of my patients, anyways. I want them really loose for that adjustment. And then with someone with an issue like yourself, I for sure use this flexion distraction table just so I can get you really loose for that adjustment. And when you're lifting your legs for me, I can really see, really is there an impairment, with motion or not.
Sure.
Okay. But what we're going to look at now is what you have as a range of motion with your lower back. So as we always do, we'll lift the leg when I give you a tap. So as high as you can lift for me. Good. Let's go to your right side. Okay, let's do your right again. Okay, let's go to your left one more time. Nice and smooth, and let's go to your right. Okay, not too bad. So we're using a drop table just to get that quick adjustment for the pelvis, to balance the pelvis out. Now, one reason to do this is that your two hip bones, and what I'm adjusting right now is the sacrum, these three bones work together in unison. When they're off, per se, one hip can be off, it throws the whole dynamic off. As high as you can lift. Good. What do you right? There you go. Now, hopefully that was seen on the video, but he's having a harder time on that right side where he's not lifting nice and smooth. It actually, his leg has to bend to kind of cheat to come up and match that left side. Just now, nice and smooth, and it really is that simple. With that sacralization that he has on the right, and then with the hip being replaced on the right, it's gonna be hard for him to start getting that leg, the range of motion back. So he's doing quite well compared to last week, but that's the adjustment. It's really quick and easy, but got to make sure that we do it the right side.
Now, what's classic is when you talk about Noel, raise your leg, left side, right side. Mm-hmm. Our community didn't see me the first time I came in. So my first session was last Wednesday, and it wasn't pretty. And the reason I got out of the water is because the left side of my back and my hip were hurting so bad, which is the opposite of my surgery side. Mm-hmm. But when I came in here to raise my legs after you stretched me out, I couldn't even touch your hand and raised my right leg up all the way, right?
Right.
Now, I've been in 3 times, and after session 2, I got out because I was tired, not because my back and my hip was hurting, which is already improvement. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really see much improvement in my surfing on the second session, but today I surfed my 3rd session, and I got one wave where Aaron and I are like, okay, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel for Noel. As we get back into the water, I was able to get a little right where I actually did a combination of some turns, and I felt like my hip was looser from physical therapy yesterday and the stuff they're working on with me. And then with you working on me every day, I don't have that pain that I have in my hip and in the lower left side of my back. Mm-hmm. And it's really just been keeping me from being super sore at night or even waking up in the morning where I'm so stiff that I don't even think I could go surf.
Right. Just what you didn't know, it's just the compensation with your left side that was really just taking the brunt of everything.
Right.
And we need to really free up that right side. So super stoked that it helped for you.
Now I've surfed 3 times, started at the 12-week mark. We're at 13 weeks now, got back on my Carver surf skate, and as I'm going down the street and coming back, I'm literally pushing hard through my turns. I'm trying to do what's natural for me and just turn that back leg in a little bit and push off. And I have very, very little pain. So I'm optimistic. I'm feeling better. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm surfing as often as I can. I really appreciate all your guys' support, both on YouTube, Patreon. You guys have been amazing and very encouraging for me. I also want to say that without the help of my brother, my family, and the team that surrounds me, the surgeon, physical therapy, my chiropractor, I'm going to put a list to each of the links of those websites. So that way, if you're having problems, you can reach out to them, maybe set up an appointment, get your stuff checked out. I've got a bunch of reviews lined up in the queue. We're going to get in the water, get better. Look, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.